Fred in Abinett, a Beartooth mountaineer, said, "What I would not give to be able to tell the people of the exhilaration, ecstasy, and high ideals mountains impart for those who will only stop to see." Follow along as we share episode 4 of our adventures through the Great American West. In our last episode, we were at East Rosebud Lake, Montana, boondocking near the creek. Reluctantly, we packed up early in the morning, but agreed this is definitely a place we'd like to come back to someday. Driving back to Red Lodge, we stopped to fill up on gas and pick up a few groceries before heading through the Beartooth Pass. The Beartooth Highway, also known as U.S. Route 212, connects Red Lodge to Cooke City, Montana. The 68-mile stretch of road is recognized as one of the most scenic drives in the United States. The highway, which opened in 1936, was part of a public works project during the height of the Great Depression. The road climbs 5,000 feet with multiple switchback curves and provides views of many alpine lakes as well as 20 mountain peaks over 12,000 feet tall. Pull-offs are plentiful along the drive, including the Vista Point observation site that includes a paved trail leading to a viewing platform. This site provides spectacular views of Red Creek Valley, various interpretive displays, a large parking lot, and restroom facilities. It was a beautiful drive with numerous photo opportunities on the way up to the 10,947-foot summit. Near the summit, you'll see the unique peak that gave this mountain range its name, what the Crow Indians called the Bear's Tooth. Weather permitting, the road is open Memorial Day through Columbus Day. Plan on this route taking at least 2 hours to drive and even longer depending on how often you stop to enjoy the views. One of our grandkids' favorite books is called Bear's Loose Tooth, and they ask us to read it nearly every time they visit. So we couldn't help but text this fun little clip and let them know that we were thinking of them. Bear's Loose Tooth. We had scouted out a camping spot on the Wyoming side of the pass that was a little alpine lake called Fantan Lake. We were disappointed to find that the road was in too rough condition for our vehicle setup and didn't want to risk damaging our truck. We had other sites selected as backup plans, but road after road was just as rough or the sites were unprotected from the strong winds. We finally resolved ourselves to spending the night at the Beartooth Lake Campground. This is a nice place to camp for $15 a night. We walked the 3 campground loops, then down to the boat ramp where we had beautiful views of the Clay Butte across Beartooth Lake. In the morning, we drove off the mountain and ended in Cooke City, Montana. The sights along the way caused us to constantly stop for photo opportunities, but that's why we plan a flexible schedule. Cooke City sits at an elevation of 7,580 feet with only 2 months averaging over 50 degrees Fahrenheit and is a big attraction for skiers in the wintertime. We walked the town, visited a few shops, and then headed on our way. From Cooke City, it's a short 4 miles to the northeast entrance of Yellowstone. If you've never been to this national park, be sure to add this gem to your travel list. Given the road construction in the park this year and having visited in the past, we decided to head southeast to Cody, Wyoming. The Chief Joseph Senic Byway, also known as Wyoming Highway 296, is named after the Native American chief of the Nez Perce tribe, who in 1877 fled east through Yellowstone along with 1,000 members of his tribe. They were attempting to evade capture by the U.S. cavalry, who were trying to force the tribe onto a reservation so that the white ranchers could have their lands. Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce were forced to surrender in northeastern Montana, just 30 miles from their destination at the Canadian border. Along the way down the Scenic Byway, we ran across a great boondocking site. It was too early for us to stop for the night, but we were sure to mark it on our Gaia app for the next time we're in this area. The man we talked with while on the Bucking Mule hike in Wyoming told us to be sure to stop at the Sunlight Creek Bridge. This bridge spans the Sunlight Creek some 600 feet below. Built in 1985, this is the tallest bridge in Wyoming and provides amazing views. Canyon can be viewed from the pedestrian walkways on both sides of the bridge, and there's a big parking lot to the south. Next stop was Cody, Wyoming, where we spent a few hours at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West Museum. The original museum opened in 1927 in a log cabin across from the current location, then reinstalled in 1986 in this beautiful new complex. The museum offers a wide-ranging view of the life and times of William F. Cody, as well as the Buffalo Bill character he created, which made him the world's most celebrated person of his time. The museum showcases the fame and success Cody attained through his Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Tickets were $21 per person and good for 2 days, providing admission to all 5 museums within the one building. Museums include the Buffalo Bill Museum, Cody Firearms Museum, Draper Natural History Museum, Plains Indian Museum, and the Whitney Western Art Museum, along with the McCracken Research Library. With evening approaching, we headed south of Cody to BLM land and found a nice quiet road into the country with views of the Red Clay Hills. Once again, the winds picked up after dark and we were in for a very windy night as the storms rolled through. The bright sunrise brought the colors alive on the landscape around our campsite this morning south of Cody, Wyoming. The drone captured the vastness of the area with views of the mountains in the distance and no one within miles of our secluded campsite. Packed up camp and headed south on Highway 120 towards Lander, Wyoming. 32 miles south of Cody was the small town of Meeteetse, the original start of the Meeteetse Trail we highlighted in episode 3 and the home of Butch Cassidy. We connected with Highway 20 in Thermopolis and then continued south through the Wind River Canyon. This drive was amazing with steep canyon walls rising above us, the Bighorn River running alongside the road, and across the river the train tracks cutting through the tunnels in the canyon walls. This 2,500-foot deep canyon is a feast for the eyes with beautiful layers of rocks in all shades and colors. As we drove along, we received a text from my in-laws who happened to be traveling through Wyoming and wondered if we could meet in the town of Lander for lunch. A couple hours later, we were enjoying an impromptu reunion in Lander City Park. We made plans to travel together for a day, with the next stop a couple of ghost towns south of Lander. Atlantic City was the first town, which is located 36 miles south of Lander and accessible by gravel roads from nearby Wyoming Highway 28. Miners found gold in 1868, and in 2 years, 2,000 miners and the usual contingent of harlots and gamblers settled the hillsides. In another 10 years, the gold mining bubble had burst and the miners and others had moved on. Today, Atlantic City remains a community of resilient souls where modern homes coexist with historic log cabins in one of Wyoming's oldest cities. Be sure to pick up a walking tour map of the town describing the remaining buildings and locations. South Bass City was the next ghost town, located less than 5 miles from Atlantic City. The tour part of this town is now run by the Wyoming Parks Historic Site with an $8 admission fee. We decided to pass on this reassembled Old Town Street and instead took pictures of the interesting old buildings outside of the park gates. If you visited an interesting ghost town, please post it in our comments. We'd love to visit new sites on our next travels. It was late afternoon and we needed to find camp for the night. We headed back towards Lander, then took Highway 300 up the mountainside, navigating the 7 switchbacks along the way. When at the top, we turned onto an unmaintained dirt and rock road that was very rough in spots and found a nice boondocking site for 2 vehicles within walking distance of Fry Lake. I think this road pushed the in-laws past their comfort zone, but they enjoyed the challenge. This lake was a reservoir with a berm around it and low water levels when we visited. The colors of the tree on the hills surrounding the lake were beautiful. The next day we headed back down the mountainside and its 7 switchbacks, driving to the sinks. This natural wonder in Sinks Canyon makes a rushing river disappear into the rock, only to reappear a quarter-mile down the canyon. A short walk takes you to a cave where we watch the rushing Poposa River flow into cracks and crevices in the cavern floor, then disappear underground. Follow the paved path a quarter-mile along the canyon to the rise where the water reappears, having been transported through underground tunnels and cracks, taking about 2 hours to arrive. The water emerges from ground as springs from the pond floor where rainbow and brown trout congregate. The fish who may have hatched upstream find they can't swim any further than the rise pond. However, they were well fed by us tourists and seemed to like their little protected habitat. We say goodbye to my wife's parents as they head toward Michigan, and we point the truck towards Pinedale, Wyoming on our way to Green River Lakes. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when new videos are loaded. In our next episode, we'll hike and kayak the Green River Lakes, visit Names Hill, Independence Rock, and other historic sites along the Oregon, California, and Mormon trails. Until next time.